right, welcome to another edition of the Baseline Scoop. I'm your host here, Zach Ciavolella, with, of course, my stunning co-host, Justin Crosby. Justin, how you doing?
Hey, what's up, Zach? How are you?
I'm not sure how I am. The Sixers signed DeAndre Jordan about a half hour ago. And I still, it's not that I don't know how to react. It's just that my reaction's very mid, Like, I don't really feel positive. I don't really feel negative.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah, I'm the same way. It's just like a move. Maybe we should feel good, though, because this is the first time that somebody's been bought out and they've been linked to the Sixers.
That's true.
Everybody else has been
That's
linked
true.
to every other team.
I don't really know the last time that they've hopped on. I don't think were Bellinelli and Ilyasova like real quick to hop to Philadelphia. I don't think it was exactly that way.
Nah, but I think maybe a couple of days, a week, but this was like linked before. The tampering was
exactly like we've been talking about this for a week.
The tampering was going on for a while.
Exactly. So it's a shame that it happens in a player who Twitter is presumed dead on the court, DeAndre Jordan, but he's gonna give you what he gives you. He's gonna give you 5 rebounds a game. He's gonna give you a block, a couple lobs. It's fine. It is what it is.
Yeah.
A lot of people are talking about Charles Bassey, Paul Reed, and how they should be playing, and not just in the G League, which I 100% agree with. That is the thing. It's not gonna happen, right?
Because of who's the coach.
Yeah, it doesn't matter who the backup set. Like, we could still have Greg Monroe on this team as the backup center, and he's going to get minutes over Paul Reed and Charles Bassey.
Exactly.
And it's a shame because you talk about all the G League opportunities that they're getting, but Paul Reed's role in the G League is so much different than his profiled role as an NBA player. Right. Paul Reed, unless he really continues to get better and better and better, and who am I to say he can't? Right. He's never going to be that type of player in the NBA. He's going to be a guy who, you're going to need to work in the pick and roll and pick and pop situations. Be that small ball 5, I think. I don't think he'll be all that effective as a rim blocker going ahead. It's not like you're going to have a prime DeAndre Jordan type down low, but you'll have a serviceable guy who can run the break with and, can add some energy to your second unit.
That's what I was gonna say. Energy, like he's like he's like a pest on the defensive end. Like,
yeah,
when even the time where after the Drummond trade, then we had no Millsap. He got those backup center minutes, and he, besides his like failed dunk attempt, he was good out there. I mean,
yeah,
he was like getting in there, getting the extra rebound, just like providing that energy, and like that stuff is infectious. And you will hope that you would get a chance to see him or Bassey get some time, but like you said, it's not going to happen. Doc's not going to play him, and we might see him in between this time of DeAndre getting up to speed or coming to Philly and signing and stuff like that. But
DeAndre is going to have to learn the playbook, as Doc Rivers says about Paul Millsap.
Everybody.
So
yeah, so it's just like, and Paul Millsap has been a disaster. I mean, I don't want to.
Listen, I'm a Paul Millsap
like,
defender. I am a Paul Millsap defender. I was so excited when we added him to this team. And I even still, I'm trying to rationalize it. Like, well, what if we don't play him at the 5?
Right.
What if we go big on the bench?
And play him at the 4.
We play him at the 4. We play Niang at the 3. And I start rationalizing like, this could work. Next thing you know, he just turns the ball over on consecutive plays. And it's like, all right, maybe it's not just that he can't defend worth a damn, and maybe there's a little more to this. So I don't know. I can say this: don't expect him back next season.
No,
so it's
not. He won't be back.
Who do you think Sixers fans? And maybe I'll put a poll out about this. Who do you think Sixers fans would rather see get playoff minutes? Paul Millsap or Furkan Korkmaz?
Probably Paul Millsap.
Yeah, I'm still thinking probably Paul Millsap.
Yeah, although I'm a Ferk realist. Like, I understand Ferk's been struggling.
Yeah.
I really understand Ferk's been struggling, but I do believe that it's an issue when he doesn't have the ball in his hand. It feels like when he has the ball in his hand and he's that backup playmaker, he has like some pop to his game and some flash and flair. He's more confident.
Well,
but now that's not his role. he's like, and he's been not shooting well. So him driving and stuff, he's improved that part of his game. But now that all they're asking him to do right now is be a spot up shooter, and his shot hasn't been falling, his confidence is just in the toilet.
Yeah, no, I agree. You know, I think they've changed his role like no less than 3 times this season. And so whether he's a young player still, you know, don't count that out, but whether or not he's a young player or not, changing a player's role that many times, like it's gonna cause some issues, you know, confidence and otherwise. And I think there's a clear issue with confidence with Korkmaz right now. And eventually maybe that goes away. You know, he's still here. I think it's 2 years remaining on Korkmaz's deal. Whether or not he actually stays that time, you know, we'll see. But I think you really got to work him into that catch and shoot role again. And if you can do that and you can build his confidence, so it's like Korkmaz is like, I know what I am now, you know, because you had him like he is, you know, for Turkey in the Olympics out there leading point, and it kind of worked. There were still a lot of flaws. It gave him confidence because he had the ball in his hand, and so that's why you saw those highlights. So if you can get him that confidence in a support catch and shoot role, I think you're looking at a guy who can play a solid role in the playoffs in Korkmaz. So it's all about building his confidence and defining roles.
And the last thing about that is, I think Furkan, if you're listening, if you're out there and you aren't hitting shots, you got to do other things. You got to play defense. You got to rebound. You got to try to get deflections. You got to
cut. I mean, he can finish, like you said. You got to cut.
You got to do more things because that will allow you to be on the court longer. But it was good to see that Doc last night went with Shake instead of Furkan in the second half.
Yeah.
And that was like surprising. I was like, "Oh, Doc made an adjustment inside."
I know that's
game.
like one of like 5. You can count how many times he did that on one hand.
Ridiculous, man.
I'm in a mood not to be too mean to Doc, but you know, but you get my point. Like it's just, you know, how often does that actually happen? And yes, the Sixers haven't been healthy this season, but it's really great to see, like you said, that he went to Shake, because I think Shake. Well, we talk about, you know, roles and everything like that. Shake Milton's been playing out a role for how long? Shake Milton's not a point guard, you know, and the Sixers, until they got James Harden, have not had a point guard on their roster since what? TJ McConnell. Because I'll tell you, Ben Simmons, not a point guard. And listen, I'm sure Ben's not listening, but if anyone can get that to him, Ben is not a point guard. The sooner Brooklyn realizes that, the sooner Ben realizes that, the better. So enough on that. Again, still in a mood. But when you look at Tyrese Maxey, not a point guard, okay? You see him shift over to the 2, playing with a real point guard. We'll get more on that in a little bit, but oh my gosh, you look at that. You look at that right there. Now, Shake Milton, not a point guard. You know, you got to utilize, first of all, think about what you have in the player. He's not overly athletic. He doesn't have great ball handling ability, though pretty good, especially considering where he was drafted. And his jump shot was once upon a time fantastic, but that was in a different role. In this point role, he struggled to shoot. You know, he should be playing the 2 and some small 3. You know, in situations where you can have him sit in the corner and shoot from the corner. You know, you can have him just defend a wing on the perimeter, because he's actually turned into a half decent defender. In his time under Doc.
So I have a question for you then.
Okay.
Who would you rather have out there guarding, Danny or Furk? If guarding the wing,
it depends. Who am I guarding? Am I guarding Jason Tatum, or am I grabbing a bucket of cement? Like who am I guarding here? I think I'm going to go with Shake. I think at this point I'm going to go with Shake. He can just move a little bit better. And here's the thing: I like Danny. I've been a vocal supporter of Danny. You know, I think he's actually one of the few players that I haven't looked up his last 3 games, but I think he'd be one of the players who really enjoy the most playing along James Harden, you know, benefit the most playing alongside him. I'd say that, but I'd be wrong, as he's averaging 4.7 points in his last 3 games. He's actually shooting worse from 3. Danny Green's not here next year. Can we agree on that for a second?
He's not here.
There's like a negative chance.
The only way he's here, because it's a team option, I believe, or is it a player option? I think it's a team option.
It's a team option, you know, so I think they could, you know, accept that team
and
option.
then trade him.
You know, because at that point, you know, again, if anyone asks, again, this is my term, living player exception. And that's what Danny Green is at this point. So
Yeah,
I'm all for more Shake Milton. You know, you can have Danny Green. He's great for the locker room. I'm not gonna lie.
yeah, not for sure.
But when you get down to your rotations in the playoffs, you know, I want to see George Niang. I want to see Shake Milton. I guess I want to see DeAndre Jordan. I mean, I don't know. Like, what else am I going to see? Like, what's the alternative? You know, it's like asking, where do you want to go? Do you want to go to like freaking Jersey City, or do you want to go to Wilmington, Delaware? Like, they're not good options, like either way,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, I guess we'll see. We'll see as the playoffs come.
Yeah.
What happens.
I mean, one thing's for damn sure, DeAndre Jordan's getting minutes in the playoffs. I don't think
Absolutely. Whatever those 10,
injury.
12 minutes,
exactly.
he's playing.
Exactly.
And it doesn't matter how bad he plays, or how good he plays, fine. We can hold some minutes for Joe, but no matter how bad he's playing, he's going to play.
Oh, he's going to be in there. Yeah. Well, we saw that with Greg Monroe a couple of years ago. We saw that with Amir Johnson. You know, it's just, and that's
Dwight
the kind
Howard.
of thing that's like, Dwight Howard, is that it's not even just Doc Rivers is the odd thing about it, but it's just this issue of getting a good backup center for Joel Embiid. We've and before they've had the excuse, well, they didn't really have any young guys waiting in the wings. Now you have the excuse, but Doc Rivers still isn't going to let it happen. So it's a frustrating part. You know, it's a tradition at this point for Philadelphia Sixers fans. We'll see what happens, but DeAndre Jordan is now a Sixer, so you can feel our excitement right there. Like it is what it is, man. Like I don't even know what I'm supposed to say at it. Like it's like. Great.
You're supposed to run out and get your DeAndre Jordan jersey.
Well, somebody from Lob City, is going to be playing in Philadelphia, guaranteed championship because they had so many out there with the Clippers. I mean, it's just I'm working my way to negative, but I really do think he'll be okay. Mm-hmm. He'll be fine. He'll get you what you. I'll tell you what. Not a damn difference between him and Willie Cauley-Stein, except that he is older and slower.
Yeah.
So I'm actually a little disappointed. I hope Cauley-Stein latches on somewhere because I think there's still a role out there somewhere for him. He's not. If he were a little bit smarter, he'd be able to play that Dwight Powell role. But I think there's still a use for him on some team somewhere. So we'll see what happens with Cauley-Stein. Mm-hmm. Who knows? I wish him luck. And welcome DeAndre Jordan. That's all I have to say.
Welcome to Philly.
Yeah. But anyway, there was a game last night in Philadelphia.
Yes.
It was James Harden's home debut, which you'd hear about literally everywhere that you were. I mean, to the degree that like during the before the game was on, they had a clock, a countdown with his face on it.
I know the beard countdown.
Waiting for his debut. When's the last time in Philadelphia? And I guess I'm thinking about any sport within Philadelphia that there's been this type of anticipation to see a player's home debut. It's got to be Bryce Harper, right?
Like, I was about to say Bryce.
That's
I feel like Bryce is the most recent, and I feel like it's Bryce because even like Jimmy Butler wasn't even that like.
No, well, but people still hated the Jimmy Butler because see what's great about this is I think it's actually a good thing that Harden had a couple road games before coming to Philly, because like by the time that third game in Philly came around, people knew that no, Harden's not actually cooked like so many people were saying, during after the trade had happened.
Right.
Whereas if he had gone straight to a home game, there's going to be a lot of anticipation, but at the same time, there's going to be a lot of people waiting for him to fail. Mm-hmm. Which I think we didn't have that issue.
Yeah, I think, like, first of all, and we could go on lengths to talk about, his impact and how good he's been so far. But the home debut was like if you were in a building, it's probably everything you wanted to see. Watching it, it was good. Like even them having a slow start and just like coming out in the third quarter and just him, like them just saying like, yo, we're going to turn it on. And once we turn it on, there's nothing they can do to stop us. It's good to see. I think also seeing some like, whatever, he quit on whoever and whenever, but like just to see his encouragement to other teammates, like even when other people make mistakes, he's like clapping or saying like, "Yo, what are we doing?" Or the whole thing where the quote comes out where at halftime he asks Maxey, "Are you going to play tonight?" After Maxey only had 4 points in the first quarter, the first half, and he comes out and ends up with 25. So it's like it's just like one of those things where you just seeing just how he impacts his team. Joel, like it's almost like Joel took the first half off last night, and he still won with 27-12. But like the reason to get the game was 8 points at halftime is because Harden had 19, and he controlled the offense. In the past, and I'm not knocking Seth Curry. I'm not knocking Seth Curry at all. He was really good for us when he was here.
Sure,
but to depend on like it would have to be more of a effort in order for us to be in that game, not being down 20. Because you didn't have that person who could really draw fouls. Seth doesn't draw fouls. Tobias doesn't draw fouls. Like to kind of slow the game down, get some points at the line, get the defense set. Like we didn't really have that besides Joel. So it's like good to see Harden. And then like we could just like I don't know. I know everybody talk about the honeymoon phase, but I don't know. Just like he's better than advertised, and I'm like. Because I was thinking about him, like everybody's saying the Sixers lost a trade, but he's like one of the 75 best players and perennial MVP candidate, and he was really good last year. It was even some thought about him being MVP last year. And like in the beginning when he first got to Brooklyn, and then all of a sudden he's washed up, and I almost let them trick me into thinking that wasn't there. I'm just like, yo, he's so good. Like I don't know, but I almost let him trick me.
Yeah, I'm so happy. There's just something about when your opinion is proven correct and the vindication that you feel. I there may have been a time where if I thought another extremely high quality player were available for the Sixers, I'd have the opinion, oh, I don't want James Harden, because I think that I could get player X, Y, or Z, who's a comparable talent, doesn't have the baggage, whatever. That being said, I've been very strongly against that. He's not near a top 10 player, I should say. My personal opinion, I have him in the top 10 with the way that he's played this
absolutely
this season and in his career. I don't think you can doubt that we have 2 top 10 players, right? Because we have not only the best player this season, but I think Joel Embiid is realistically a top 5 player now. I think he's put his forces way into that top 5 general, not just the season, but top 5 general discussion. So to have him probably right around 5, to have James Harden probably 8 through 9, somewhere there.
I would say 8, 9, 10. Even if you want to go outside, he's 11. Like he's right
exactly.
there.
Worst case scenario, the man's the 11th best player in the NBA. Like
on a down year.
What are we talking about here? You know, we went from Ben Simmons, who realistically, like legitimately peaked at what, like 25?
Yeah.
Like, and I don't care about, the rankings out there. I'm sure there's some schmo who had him 15, one odd year or something like that. But Ben Simmons was never better than a 25 best player in the league. I get he's younger. He doesn't do one of the most key factors of today's modern game, and he doesn't have the attitude of a Draymond either. Like he's supposed if he can thrive if he plays super Draymond, but he doesn't have that attitude is the problem.
No. And I think the difference is Harden is going to have an off night or a bad night, but he still can affect the game in other ways. Like just his presence will allow him to dime people up and, maybe get to the free throw line if he's not shooting well. If Ben is not doing anything in transition or not having a good matchup where he gets those post ups and stuff like that, he can be taken out the equation so easily. And I think that's going to be the big difference that we see in fans, where we're going to have a defensive drop off without Ben on the court. Absolutely. We've seen it thus far. But just seeing on offense, like just being able to control the game, like these guys, Harden literally said, I'm going to go to the line and we're going to slow the game down, get ourselves together, get our mental right. And we couldn't depend on that with Ben.
No, you couldn't. And obviously there's the hack of Ben concern, the concerns last. What he have in the fourth quarter of the Hawks series last year? What was it, like 5 points in the fourth quarter combined or
Yeah,
something like that last year, or
like 7
five
points
shots,
throughout the whole.
five
Yeah.
shots taken or something like that.
And the only time he
Like
scored in
that
the fourth
can't
quarter.
happen again.
Yeah.
Like
Can't.
the most important quarter to score in is the fourth quarter.
Exactly.
Like you cannot be passive to that degree. You cannot, be that poor of a modern day fit in that kind of scenario. Like
Right.
if you think, and I do wonder about how James and Ben could play together. But my point with it is if you have superstars like that around Ben, maybe you can work it out. That's why I still think Brooklyn's a threat.
Right.
Because I think he'll play very well. Like Kevin Durant on the court, I think is a perfect fit with
Oh yeah.
with Ben. I think he's going to get real tired of the Ben Simmons show real quick. But on the court, I think they're a fantastic fit, right? So maybe we see a slightly different Ben in Brooklyn because they don't need him to do that role with KD and with Kyrie. But here in Philly, we knew we needed something different. And James Harden's previous postseason struggles aside, I mean, I'm excited for it. I don't care. People say just wait. He's going to let you down. If I get hurt, I get hurt. You know what? If the Sixers lose, I'm going to get hurt anyway. So I might as well feel good about this team going into the playoffs when they're undefeated in every single game James Harden has played with Philadelphia, So I'm going to fly high and if I get burned, I get burned. But for now, somebody stop us, until that happens, I'm feeling great.
Yeah, and I think we could put a button on the Simmons issue because he is not a Sixer anymore. We don't have to worry about him.
Please stop me. Please, I don't want to talk about it anymore. Just stop me, cut me off.
I just think that him and Brooklyn, they're gonna play. Everybody's talking about surrounding him with Patty and Seth and Kyrie and KD. I'm like, yo, that's really cool. But like besides Ben and KD, who's going to play defense and who's going to guard? Like all those guys can't be on the court together because the matchups are going to be different. Like it's not going to happen. And you can have Seth and Patty on there, but like who are they going to guard?
Joel's like one of the few players Ben Simmons can't guard.
Yeah.
So I mean, what exactly are you going to do? Like I'm very glad that they don't have like an Elise Johnson type, that just like hyper aggressive athlete who's given Embiid fits before. Because I think that's actually the way they'd have to beat him is, by putting a guy like that on Embiid and then you help defense from use the energy, you got to cut off the entry pass and then let either Simmons or KD help from there. So without a guy like that, who else is there? Like LaMarcus Aldridge, Nick Claxton, they're not helping along with that.
No,
not at
all.
The wing depth is the forward depth, I should say, in Brooklyn is terrible. So I have no fear about it. I guess Milwaukee is who I'm most interested to see. We're going to see him coming up soon.
Yeah. And I want to see the Heat too.
I want to see the Heat. I think the Heat and the Bulls are both fake. If I'm being honest with you, I think they're both fake.
I just want to see the Heat because the gimmicky defenses that not gimmicky, but they work well.
I mean, Bam Adebayo is pretty much Giannis is what we've been hearing lately.
Oh yeah.
So it's
and one Western Conference executive said that he would have Bam Adebayo over Jokic or Joel Embiid any day.
Okay. Unbelievable.
Please let me get a Western Conference GM job, executive job.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean,
saying stuff like that.
Out there, yeah. I mean, and listen, I love Bam. I'm a huge fan of Bam. I think he's a great player. He's on my top 5 list. For centers in the NBA, but and I think he's my favorite, player to watch on the Heat. But I don't fully trust Tyler Herro. I think Embiid is a matchup problem for Adebayo. Jimmy Butler hasn't played well this season, up to his standards at least, and has been wildly inconsistent. I'm not too sure about him. I'm not too sure about Kyle. Like, who am I supposed to be afraid of on Miami? Yeah, they're deep. But Victor Oladipo is not going to be himself, PJ Tucker is probably going to be a pain in the ass. I'm not going to lie.
Absolutely.
But who is there? Who's the Kevin Durant? Who's the Devin Booker? Like, who am I supposed to be afraid of on Miami's team? I can't come up with anybody.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, PJ Tucker is really going to call, but I think about who's he going to guard. He's not going to guard Harden, right? No.
I don't know. It's tough because
He'll probably
he might
guard
switch off
Tobias
with Lowry. I think
Okay.
it's gonna be him. And so listen, if you're matching up like starting five on starting five, right? I'm thinking you're probably putting PJ on Harden, especially with that history there. And I think that you're gonna put Lowry on Maxey. But you'll probably see some Lowry on Harden minutes as well, just because Lowry is one of the few guards in the league who can keep up with Harden's strength. Like, they were even talking about it last night on the cast, but like, Harden is one of the stronger guards in the NBA.
Oh yeah,
he's so shockingly strong.
For sure.
And do you think how much muscle he must have built up over the years wearing that fat suit whenever he wants to leave, whether it's Houston or Brooklyn? It's the one where he got it from Big Mama's house. It's that. It's the very same.
Yes.
He just called up Martin Lawrence. He's like, Martin, I need you.
I need this. And
it's like for my DBZ fans out there, it's just like Goku's clothes, that weighted clothing. It makes you that much stronger.
Yep.
And that's my theory on how Harden became so strong.
Yeah,
but like he's legitimately like impressively strong. Like it's just crazy. But you never really associated that with him in the past. But like you watch him drive the lane, and he's not pushing off guys, but he's making guys move.
Yeah. Yep. And another thing about his strength too is what I've noticed is, as you know, this team before he arrived wasn't necessarily a switching team unless there was a particular matchup or Danny is switching with Matisse or something like that, but they try to like fight through screens. But literally they switch anytime whoever Harden's got, like they try to like he switches and like Julius Randle was putting him in the post and he kind of held his own, like
I know it's impressive
because what everybody said is bad perimeter defender, quality or not solid post up defender. But
has he ever been bad though, or has he just been lazy?
No, he's had some bad years. He's had some bad years.
But my question is like, is he bad because he doesn't know how to defend, or is he bad just he doesn't give a crap about playing defense? Like when I watch his biggest blunders, it's the Ole style. He just lets his man go right past him. But when you think about it, he has the strength to play defense. He has good enough length to play defense. He's one of the most cerebral players in the entire NBA. I just think he actively doesn't give a damn about playing defense. And that's where this narrative's come from. And not to say that the narrative's exactly wrong, because he's played bad defense over the years. It's just, why has he played bad defense? Because he can't defend, or because he doesn't care about playing defense? And if it's the second one, like I think it is, that means he can turn that switch on at any time.
Well, I mean, he's going to have to play some type of defense with that. I mean, he's going to play.
He's going to have to.
Yeah.
No, I think so. And he did in the first game against the Knicks. What did he rack up? 5 steals?
Yeah. And he did mention after his last game that they need to be a better, like they're working on being a better two-way team. So I'm like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay. We hear you talking.
Listen, I think he's going to show it. I think he's already shown to be a little bit more engaged defensively. Maybe that's part of the honeymoon phase, who knows? Right. But he's looked like a better defender. Again, he has the necessary pieces to be a solid defender. Is he going to look like Matisse Thybulle out there? Absolutely not. But can he be an average defender at least? I think so. Like, I literally cannot think of one reason why he cannot, short of he does not want to play defense.
Right. He doesn't want to try.
Exactly. So, and we'll see. Like this seems a little bit like a different James Harden than we've ever seen before too. The motivation seems, I mean, he looked hungry in Houston, don't get me wrong, but this seems like another level from James Harden. So we'll see. And it's already bleeding out to the other players on the team. We talked a little bit about how much better, the other players on the Sixers are playing. Almost everybody Matisse Thybulle's averaging almost 10 points a game with playing
Yep.
with Harden. And his field goal percentage is over 60%. It's at 63.2%. And even his threes, 37.5. Like that's not bad. If this is Matisse Thybulle, if this is the real Matisse Thybulle, that's a guy who can absolutely start alongside James Harden, Tyrese Maxey, and Joel Embiid.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, there's borderline your Danny Green replacement right there.
Yeah, and then just his playmaking ability, and Matisse is really, and I talked about it in a piece I wrote, but Matisse is really like he's out there trying to get the touchdown passes. So it seems like if he's contesting on a shot and it's a miss, he is out of there. And
we saw him a couple games ago where he was, I think it was against Minnesota, but he had that putback that was just an absolute yam. I mean, that thing was beautiful.
Yeah, he's athletic, and hopefully, but Matisse looked way better. Like it looked like he regressed from his rookie year, because his rookie year he was an average 3-point shooter. But maybe the volume has went up from from his rookie year to make him look like he's not a good shooter. But I mean, he's gonna have to get better and work at repetition. But I'm sure he'll be wide open on those. He's gotten really good with cuts, so hopefully Harden will continue to find him. And then we all know Maxey has just looked tremendous,
unbelievable,
moving off the ball for a majority of the night by just playing his old self, just a combo guard, a two guard, whatever you want to call it. And he's attacking closeouts, he's shooting, he's stepping backs, layups, getting caught. Like he just seems very comfortable. It's just like he feels like he's been released. Like before it was like, I want to be aggressive, but I've got to get the ball to Tobias. I got to get the ball to Joel. I got to watch and let Seth and Joel run their two-man game. And now he's unlocked, it seems like. I don't know.
Yeah, no. All right, so you ready for this? This is Tyrese Maxey's last 3 games. So he's playing 34.8 minutes a game. All right. 24.7 points, 4.3 rebounds, 2.7 assists. Now, here's what's really impressive. This is his slash line. 64.3% from the field. 64.3% from 3. 84.6 from the line. All right, now the 60s, like that's not staying around. We know that, but still, like it's encouraging that you think he can probably settle somewhere around the 40s in both. So his field goal percentage, he might be able, like, if he can get his free throw numbers up, what this is telling me is that there's potential for him joining the 50, 40, 90 club at some point in his career.
Yeah.
And that's fantastic, especially on that volume.
Yeah, for sure. I'm happy for him.
Yeah.
I'm so glad we didn't trade him for old ass Kyle Lowry.
Oh my gosh, I know.
At the trade deadline.
I know, that would have just been awful. I mean, especially if we saw him kicking off like this now, it's just absolutely insane.
Cost control for 2 more seasons after this.
Yeah.
Then Tobias will be off the books, and then we'll be able to rookie max extension Maxey, and he could continue to grow with Joe and Harden, because of course they're going to do they're going to re-sign Harden, and then we'll see what other moves they make.
I think it's bold of you to assume that Tobias Harris will be here for the remainder of his contract, but other than that, I think you're 100% right. Let's talk Harris for a second, right?
Yeah, yep.
So this is the one guy who really, and I'm taking Danny Green out because I don't feel like talking about Danny Green again. But this is the one guy who has not, he has a main role, but has not thrived with James Harden. So real quick, 10.7 points, 5 rebounds, 2.3 assists, and he's shooting 35.7 from the field. And here's the one good Harris stat: 42.9% from 3. Okay, so that's the one like grain of hope that you have, is that 3-point percentage rate, and that's on 4.7 attempts. So talk to me a little bit about Harris. What are you seeing? What's going on with him?
So Harris, you could just tell he's uncomfortable. You gotta, like, even when Ben was here, he was the second scoring option. He was second in the team in scoring. They ran plays for him. They made it easier for him. We've all talked about how Harris has had his up and down year this year. Last year, he was a legitimate all-star. They got snubbed. This year he's had an up and down year, and he was just starting to get back into the groove of things. And I think that with James arriving and James being on the ball more and just having the ball in his hands, it's hard for Harris to do what he wants because Embiid is a post-up guy and running more pick and rolls. Harris can become and should become a more willing catch and shoot player, but that's just not his
100%.
game. Like for some reason, he's just so used to pump faking and trying to drive. I'm just like, bro, you're open, shoot it. Like, just shoot the ball. And I think that it's in his head. Now he's in his own head because he hasn't performed well. And here we are now, where just like he's the last of the group to try to gather himself. But I think, we talked about it briefly off the air, but Doc, those first probably like, 6 minutes or like 5 minutes of this fourth quarter, he went to Tobias and ran some plays for him to try to get him going. Now, hopefully that helps because they ran a couple actions off of it. They ran like, kind of like pin down screen, or not really pin down, but they ran some screens to get him open, or ran screens to get him in the post. And then if that didn't work, they ran pick and roll or double drag picks off of it. So just to try to get him open. But Harris needs to get more comfortable with shooting off the catch threes, and that would be a big difference. Like last night, he shot 3 threes. That's not enough. He passed up like 3 or 4 of them. Harris needs to be shooting 7 threes a game at this point with this roster and what they need from him. He needs to be shooting 7 threes a game. And then after that, if you get a switch or a matchup, yes, you can go down to the post and try to do your thing. And as well as just like, and I know he's trying to rebound, but just like the rest of the young guys are run on the break. He did have a good fast break at the end of the first quarter, at the end of the first half. But run with Maxey, run with Matisse, get some open buckets. But those days are over unless one of Embiid or Harden is not playing, of him being that secondary option.
They used to do this thing for Tobias Harris where they try and get him going early, right?
Mm-hmm.
Give him a couple post touches, give him the ball in the half court early on. It's not happening. Like you said, it's not going to happen. He's now the 4th option on offense. He needs to play in a role, and that's essentially what he is at this point, is a role player. What exactly is that role? Ideally, knockdown shooter. So it's about catch and shoots. Work your way to the corner. I hate seeing Tobias Harris with the ball in his hands. I just don't like the way that he attacks. I think he attacks with a head full of steam, and I don't mean that in like the Giannis kind of way, but like you can see that he's so focused on being aggressive that he's not thinking about what he's actually doing. It's almost as if he's distracting himself with his full head of steam. So one of the most frustrating things is watching him, and this is the process that happens every time, right? So wide open 3, pump fake. Defender was 10 feet away from him, mind you. Pump fake. Defender closes out because he has time because it was a pump fake and not just a shot. And then when the defender comes close, Tobias Harris dribbles down into a double team into the low post. And at that point, turns the shoulder, and then he tries to spin around and fade away. I can't tell you how many times I've seen that series of events happen.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of the most disgusting things that I've seen from the Sixers offense over the years. But at not a single thing that I described can be confused as a effective offense in the league. I mean, at no stage, it is something that you see in a YMCA gym. And it's just, and I like Harris. I think he's a fantastic teammate. He's great in the community. And I think he's a good ball player.
I do too.
But it's just, I don't know who told him that is a good offensive approach, but they need to work on this in the offseason. And I think that they can. I think they need to work on deconstructing his game, on his offensive game, and building it up in a support role, which is a lot of talks out there about trading Harris. But I really think that if they take the offseason and they work, it's James, it's Joel, it's Tobias and Maxey in a gym. I think they can figure this out, but I think it's going to be rough going for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and it's weird because I've literally watched videos of Tobias that he put out and showing him working on like step into threes or
Yeah.
step back threes with a hand in his face. And I've seen him working on it. And it's like, I get it. It's not what you're used to, but this is what we need you to do. Like Tobias, when he first got here, when JJ, Jimmy, and Ben, like he was comfortable being a catch and shoot guy and then getting his own on a closeout or whatever, or even if it was in a post or drive, a strong drive, cool. But Tobias needs to learn how to, one, he's a bigger guy, so he needs to learn how to take contact or sense the contact and get some more free throws. He should be doing that. And that's another thing that will help him in his scoring is getting to the line, but not just going with your head down and running somebody over and like kind of going to control, take the contact, and then put the layup up instead of trying to either seek contact and be like a football player or shy away from it and throw up a layup instead of throwing it down or going up aggressively. And I think if he does a few of those things, he'll be okay. But like you said, it's going to take him. I feel like he's not going to be comfortable figuring out what he needs to do for another like 10 games.
Yeah, I mean, I say bare minimum. I think, can he not figure it out but come closer in 10 games? Sure.
Yeah.
Especially if they keep making that a focal point in practice. I think there is a clear path to him improving as a not just a fit in the system, but as a player in general. Right. Because unless you're like, a Jeremy Grant type situation, like best player on a bad team, nowhere is that going to be effective basketball the way that he's playing.
Right.
So if he can figure out, a more ancillary role and how you go about it that way. But one thing that you said that I want to just emphasize is, you're bigger, be physical, learn how to finish through contact, get to the line. It's stuff that we could say about a lot of players on the Sixers, anyone not named Maxey, Harden, or Embiid. But you need to be physical, especially if you have the size advantage that Harris has. So, if on a switch pick and roll situation, you end up with the smaller defender, back him down, that's great. It maybe work on your fadeaway a little bit more if you want to do the fadeaway, but essentially what you want to be doing is getting down low enough that you can actually just, put the ball right up. And their only option is to foul you, So I don't want to pile on to Harris. One thing that I will say about Tobias Harris is that he's self-aware, man. Like he knows that he's not been playing up to his standards. He knows he's not been playing up to the fans' standards. At the end of the day, he's worried about playing winning basketball, which is what they've done. Is what the Sixers have done. So I think he's been a great teammate through all this.
And I guarantee you, like even Friday, Tobias has some positive plays. The crowd is going to go crazy for him because that's just how they are. Because they know he's having a down time too with this.
Yeah.
He comes out, hits 2 threes or 3 threes and whatever. Like they're going to go crazy for him. So it's just like he understands, like you say, he's very self-aware. He understands what he needs to do, and he just got to try to fit in and figure out what he needs to do. Hopefully he'll do it sooner rather than later, but we just got to roll with it. But knowing that at the end of the day, in the playoff series, we will have to rely on Joel to play monsters every game.
Yeah.
And now with Harden on the roster, he doesn't have to.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. And it's almost unreal to think about how earlier this season, and again, not to say more negative things about Harris, but he was for a lot of the time the second option. And he's been leapfrogged by Maxey, but also insert James Harden, top 50 player of all time.
Right.
As another offensive option has been relegated to the fourth. So the only reason I'm bringing this up is, just as a Sixers fan, how I don't want to say awesome because it's not awesome at Harris's expense, but it's like amazing that the team has flipped so much in such a short amount of time.
And that he's your fourth option, which is good.
He's your fourth option. Like that's not a bad thing, especially if he can, get the fit thing sorted a little bit. But like Tobias Harris as a fourth option on a team, like if you look at this starting lineup and you have, what the starting lineup should be of Harden, Maxey, Matisse, Harris, and Embiid.
Right.
That is leagues better than the Jimmy Butler roster. Like so far above it. Not only is Joel Embiid a much better player than he was then, but James Harden is a much better player than Jimmy Butler, right? Tyrese Maxey is a better player than JJ Redick.
Yep.
Okay. And while Tobias Harris, you can say he's taken a step back. Okay. Not compared to the size of the improvements in the other spots of the roster, And yes, you lose Ben Simmons, but you replace him with the next best perimeter defender in all of basketball.
Right.
So you're losing some of the other things that Ben does, like rebounding, assists, running the fast break. But in Matisse Thybulle, you're not losing that much defensively in the post, but not on the perimeter.
Right.
So I have no doubt in my mind this is a better team. And I'll tell you, especially after this 3-game winning streak, speaking just about Harden, because it's just it's a 4-game winning streak total, but 3 games with Harden, I can't wait. It's a tough next 4 games.
And 6 out of their last 7.
6 out of the last 7. It's a tough next 4 games. You got the Cavs Friday.
Heat.
We got the Bucks. Yeah, the Heat. Who's that other team? Oh, the Bulls. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And then Nets.
I'm not.
It's still a gauntlet. It's still a little gauntlet.
Yeah. It's but it's good. It's good for the team. So I can't wait. Like it's going to be must see TV every single time they touch the court over this next stretch. Even the Cavs, like who again, the Cavs have been really impressive this year. Like they've been a really fun watch. Yep. That's not a game to take off. There's no more taking off. That's not a thing that the Sixers should consider anymore. There's no more, we're playing the Magic, we should take off. No. All right. You don't rest against anybody. Like if you want to like literally rest Joel Embiid a game here or there, that's one thing, but there's no, I don't have to try because we're playing people who are worse than us.
Oh yeah, for sure. And you're the hunted. So, and most people, hate the fact that, the Sixers got hurt. And so they'll be playing up to speed, but I don't even think Joel is going to take a bunch of games off because I think I read somewhere that he can only miss like 4 more games.
Yeah.
And if he misses any more than that, he won't even be eligible for the MVP discussion.
Yeah. Well, if he it's going to be tough because the one downside is that the addition of Harden I think hurts Embiid's MVP. Not legitimately, but I think it will impact the voting, unfortunately.
Well, I agree, but I think if he still puts up these numbers that he's putting up, regardless of how he's getting it, I think
better.
Yeah, I think he'll be fine, but I just think it'll be one in this last month and a half of the season, but I think that the start that he put, like the runway, like he just got to land a plane. He's got to play games and play well, and the Sixers need to play well, and I think he'll be fine. Because if it's between him,
I think it's Jokic. It's Jokic and Morant right now, are the 3 that I'm looking at.
So I was about to say, and Morant, and I was going to say, Ja has really vaulted into the conversation.
Oh yeah,
as well, and especially if they get to the 2 seed and they beat out Golden State. So it'll be a tough race. But, hopefully Embiid has.
I think if Ja gets the top 2 seed, I think he's got the MVP. And not that he deserves it. It's not that. It's just that knowing what the voters value and have valued for some time, Ja is the perfect MVP story, I feel like. And let's be honest, they don't get it right every year, Yeah. Look at Steve Nash. So, like,
he definitely stole one from Shaq. He definitely stole one from Shaq.
He stole one from Kobe. Like,
yes.
I mean, Like,
Yes,
come on. Like,
yes,
just
yes.
should Nash have any MVP? Like, that 1 year was special for Nash. But let's not get into that. It's a whole nother pod for another time. But like, my whole point is like, not everyone who deserves to, not everyone who wins MVP deserves to be the MVP that year. When you look at how many years LeBron was far and away the best player in the league, the most valuable player in the league, he should have more MVPs than he has. Like, logistically, it doesn't add up.
Right.
So it's not always about that. A lot of times it's about the story. You can't have the same guy win for 10 straight years.
I agree.
Not that Derrick Rose didn't deserve his MVP, because he most certainly did, but that was a great story. And I think that people are going to see this as crowning Morant the next Derrick Rose, which has already happened.
Yeah.
People have already started doing that with the comparisons. So I think that if he gets a top 2 seed, it's a lock for Ja Morant MVP. And I hate to say that, because Joel Embiid, I think, has deserved it all year. And so when you say like he has to land the plane, this and that, like, legitimately to deserve it, sure. But I think to actually win it, he's going to need to play better than he has at any point in the season so far. Now, these past 3 games withstanding, if he plays at this level, the past 3 games level for the rest of the season, that could be enough. But he's going to have a struggle to land that plane.
Because I was going to say, like, to me, I just feel like the only reason he didn't get it last year is because he missed the games. So now you tell me that he played the games besides the COVID stuff for the most part, and one rest day here or there, that he's done everything, carried them through the Simmons mess, everything needed to improve this game, made everybody better, beat some top teams without Simmons, stuff like that. And you're right, the story, but I do feel like there's a story there with Embiid because of the process, the history, and he's kind of changed because I don't feel like he was well liked a few years ago.
Embiid?
Yeah, I just feel like because of the trolling and stuff like that, but he's kind of changed that a lot.
I think a remnant of that still stays, but I think you're right. He has changed himself. So you see it like in Harden, where he's beginning to be a little more well liked. But you were saying,
so hopefully that'll help him out. But you're right, it's between those 3 guys, and it's going to come down to the end. But Ja is must see TV. I'm going to be watching
100%.
him play the Celtics tonight. So like, he is must see TV.
Yeah,
seeing him live was crazy too.
I bet. Yeah, he's one of my favorite players in the league. One of my most enjoyable to watch. I love his game. I think that there is an MVP in his future. I just think that, based on Embiid's play, it shouldn't be this season.
Right. I agree.
But we'll see. Man, Pelicans fans watching Ja Morant win the MVP this early, and meanwhile they're building floats, calling Zion 1 ton. I mean, that's crazy. The Pelicans, they can't do anything right. I mean,
it's ridiculous. But at least his foot is healing now, so maybe he'll play.
Listen, I was very critical of Zion for how he's approached certain things, like not talking to CJ after the trade, which is still like horrendous.
For sure.
Mind you. That being said, there's no angels in this situation, right? Zion has been awful in the situation. The Pelicans have been horrendous in this situation. The fans have been disgusting in this situation. Yeah, David Griffin, why isn't he fired at this point? Like, what has to happen to fire him? Like, he's just been like, and now they're going to point to, oh, well, he acquired CJ, and CJ's been playing out of his mind. Like, yeah, he's the top option on a team that sucks. Like, that's perfect for a player like CJ's level. That's why Bradley Beal has looked so good for so long. Like, this is not something that should be rewarded. Trading for CJ McCollum, I don't care how good he's playing, it's a mistake for New Orleans because they're not good enough.
No, they aren't.
Like, if you add him to Utah, that's different. If you add CJ to, what's another team that I can actually use a player like that? Milwaukee. Right. it's different. It's completely different because this is a team that has the ability to compete. New Orleans doesn't have the ability to compete. CJ McCollum is in his 30s now. He's not going to be a part of a championship team in New Orleans.
No.
You know, and I had somebody bring the argument up to me. Oh, so you're saying don't add, good players to bad teams. It's like, no, that's not it. Like, obviously you want to add better talent, but you have to do it the right way.
Yeah.
You need either you need to tear it down all the way and trade Zion and trade Brandon Ingram, or you need to build it around players around the age of a Brandon Ingram type. Chase Donovan Mitchell, because he's sure as hell asking out of Utah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, that's the thing. I think Zion didn't want to be in New Orleans anyway. And, like, now there's rumblings of him, not being on the same page with the organization and stuff like that. And certain players, it's just like everybody knows he's going to ask out or he's not going to sign. And he's going to go to the Knicks.
He's forcing his way to New York.
Yeah, and I mean, it is what it is. But like, all I want to say is Zion is going to come out there looking like me, playing at the power forward position. So.
See, here's the thing. He doesn't know Martin Lawrence, so he doesn't have that hookup to get the suit. So
I'm just like, come on, bro. And I get it though. Like, if I get it, like not being able to do things because of your foot. I do get it. But
no, 100%.
But if you lift weights and eat right, you can definitely cut pounds. So hopefully he's doing that. So when he comes back, if he comes back, he'll be in great shape.
Yeah, and I think he can. I don't doubt his work ethic. I just think that he didn't change his lifestyle after hurting his foot. And when you don't do that, that's when you put on that extra poundage.
Too many Mountain Dews.
My gosh, yeah. So, we'll see what happens to him. Maybe the Pelicans. Because one thing I don't get, like I know it's a small market.
I hope he comes back. Because
no, sure.
And I hope that they get in the play-in and he's back and he's healthy. That would be fun to watch.
The Western Conference sucks, man. Like somebody's got to be in the play-in. Like I would love for them to knock
New
the
Orleans
Lakers out of the playoffs.
Zion could beat the Lakers.
Oh no, yeah, 100%, no doubt in my mind. They'd beat the Lakers. They'd beat out the other teams looking for the play-in,
Clippers,
like the Spurs. They beat the Clippers. They could beat the Mavericks. I think they could possibly beat the Nuggets. But again, here's the thing that a lot of people don't seem to realize about this year: the West sucks. Okay. Like Phoenix and Golden State, they're real, and Utah's a great regular season team.
Yep.
And Donovan Mitchell's crazy in the playoffs by himself. But so I'll give those three teams. Who else is there? Oh, I'm forgetting about Memphis. Yes, no, Memphis actually, I want them to prove it in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But I do like Memphis a good bit. So Golden State, Memphis, Phoenix, and Memphis. Well, anyway, you hauled off for them. It's those four. It's a it's a 4-team conference, I should say. Like the East is not that way at all. Like you look at how deep the East is this year.
Yeah.
Like, so it makes everything the West does a little less impressive because we heard for how many years, how weak is the East? It's not a big deal being a top 4 team in the East because, well, you look at that. The Cavaliers made the playoffs. The Wizards made the playoffs. Those teams suck. Where it's like now it's flip-flopped in the conferences. What the Dallas Mavericks have done is not overly impressive to me. What the Denver Nuggets have done, now what Jokic has done, not having Murray, that is impressive. But Barton has played very well. Yeah. Aaron Gordon has played very well. Monty Morris has played very well. While Jokic has really stepped up, so has the rest of that team. But again, they're playing weaker competition. Okay. So it's like the whole Western Conference playoffs are not going to matter until the second round, where it's going to be those 4 teams, like barring Jamal Murray coming back and he's really damn good, which is going to be tough off of an ACL. Like barring that, I mean, who's going to upset anyone in the West in the first round?
Right.
So we'll see what happens. But for now, I'm just happy it's not a problem we have to worry about, in the East with the Sixers. This is a time to be happy. This is a time to celebrate, just James Harden's a Sixer. The Sixers look unstoppable. Like come quickly Friday,
Yes. And for those listening, yes, they're going to lose games. We know that, but
it's going to happen.
It's about getting together and really working out the kinks. So they're ready to go in the playoffs. And because they could literally walk into a matchup against the Brooklyn Nets, Boston Celtics,
legitimate
Milwaukee,
teams.
but like anybody in the first round. So they need to be ready to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that does it for us today. Thank you so much for listening, Justin. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
as
much.
Always, always a blast. Plenty of great stuff to read about on Philly Sports Network about what's going on with the Sixers right now. Definitely check out Justin's work on there. Check him out on Twitter at WillWork4. That's the number 4 Sneaks.
Yes, sir.
Check out myself at Zach Chavo NBA. Again, thanks for listening, and let's enjoy some Sixers basketball.
Peace.